Hello and welcome back to another video. I am so glad you're here. On this channel, I talk about news, controversies, and drama on the bookish side of the internet, and I certainly hope you will stick around. First of all, welcome to my new home. I am very excited to be in a bigger place and even more excited to not be sitting on the floor. I am on a lovely couch while I am waiting for my desk chair to arrive. So this is definitely not the final setup. We are getting there. I apologize about any lighting or audio problems. I'm gonna try to get this video out and fix things as I go. Hopefully there's nothing wrong, but in case there is, I'm sorry, bear with me. Hopefully the next time you see me, that will all be resolved and I will be all settled in wherever my new filming location is going to look like. So anyways, today I've got some lower stakes drama to cover, and I say it's low stakes only because hopefully the only person that will actually be negatively affected by it is the perpetrator. I've talked quite a bit on here about authors commenting on reviews of their own books and inappropriately messaging readers about negative reviews, readers tagging authors in negative reviews, other situations like that. And while in general, I think most of my audience and the online book community in general is in agreement of what etiquette is acceptable from both sides, there are always exceptions, and sometimes it goes way too far. Exhibit A. This is Hannah Selinger, author of the book Valley of the Moms. This book came out June 16th from Little Brown & Company and was actually the Barnes & Noble book club pick for the month of June. So with just those few facts, it can be assumed that things are going well. She has a publishing deal with one of the big five and a huge guaranteed boost with Barnes & Noble pushing her book out, which is a dream for a lot of authors. But then this happened. On June 23rd, she did an event at a bookshop and recorded this little video.
Last night, I had a book event for my novel, Valley of the Moms, at a local bookstore like a half an hour from where I live, which happens to be one town over from where this book is set in Hamilton, Massachusetts. And the event was full. You needed reservations. I knew going into it that the event was full. A few minutes after the event started, I was in conversation with another author. Three women walked in and they stood kind of to the back, and they were just sort of standing there, not sitting in seats, even though there were like 2 or 3 seats that were left open. I figured just people hadn't arrived yet. And then in the middle of the conversation, they began interrupting and shouting out things about my book. One woman was really mad that she felt that I had denigrated women in my book because it's about the parent-teacher organization. Another woman who claimed that she had formerly been the president of the parent-teacher organization, which in Hamilton is actually referred to as friends of, said that the cops in Hamilton are not corrupt as I had painted them. Apparently lost on all of these people that fiction is the medium in which I write, and not everything in the book besides the setting is true to life. I pointed out that there are other local authors near me who use real towns. Andre Debuse from Newburyport, which is where I'm from, wrote a book not that long ago set in Amesbury, Massachusetts, about a recovering addict, and it was set in affordable housing projects. And no one in Amesbury was mad or showing up at his events with pitchforks, to my understanding. But they seemed to think that because Amesbury had once been known for drug abuse in the 1970s, that was fair game. Anyway, they were unreasonable and wouldn't stop, and so we ended up having to kick them out of our book event. That is the first time that I have ever seen adult women, who I believe were in their 50s, one may have been in her 60s, kicked out of an author event. But it happened to resounding applause, and what I can say is that Valley of the Moms is definitely shaping up to be the most talked about book on the North Shore of Massachusetts this summer.
So crazy story, right? Despite having not seen any actual evidence of this taking place, I believe it because 1, people are weirdos, and 2, I don't think that making this up is something that anyone could get away with because it was in a public space with many witnesses. So it could certainly be exaggerated. I don't know either way. All I mean to say by that is that I generally like to see hard proof before posting about something, but I do feel fine saying this. I'm going to still say allegedly though, why not? So the comments on her video consisted of mostly people being like dumbfounded, laughing about how ridiculous it all is, and then other words of support. So this was a comment left on her Threads post that was pretty much the exact same thing. Author Jane Ward said, "It was legitimately the most bizarre thing I've witnessed at an event. You and Hannah and Namrata handled it very well." And she said, "Truly the craziest event I've ever been to." So nothing too noteworthy, and if, that had been the end of it, I wouldn't be making this video. So in order to really understand what happened and why it's significant, it's important to know more about the book. So here is the synopsis. Hamilton, Massachusetts is one of those suburban towns that appears untouched by the outside world, where stay-at-home moms wear 2-carat diamond studs to the playground, where million-dollar property is affordable, and where the parent-teacher organization is a hotbed of controversy. Sure, some people struggle to make ends meet, but residents would say discussing such ugly matters is impolite. Hamilton has been like this forever, and everyone likes it that way. Or almost everyone. It's not that Anna Plummer doesn't like Hamilton, but she never thought she'd be married with 2 young kids, comfortable, complacent, and growing more bored by the minute. So when she realizes her second grader won't be able to attend the ZD with your sweetie school dance because she didn't pay for a premium membership, she snaps. She sends an email to the terrifying president of the PTO, and all hell breaks loose. 1 year later, Anna is found dead in the frozen Ipswich River. Left to pick up the pieces, her husband Denny is shaken to his core. He's no expert, but he's seen enough Dateline to know that the police think he's the main suspect. If they aren't going to get justice for Anna, he will. Told through the alternating perspectives of Anna and Denny exactly 1 year apart, and with a shocking concluding twist, Valley of the Moms is a gripping look at the underpinnings of grief, the social structures of wealth, and the secrets people keep, even among friends and loved ones. So it's a mommy drama book about the PTO set in the Massachusetts town of Hamilton. Now, in no way is it ever appropriate to come into someone's book event and start berating them. Let's just get that out of the way. And disclaimer, as I always say, I am not an author, so this is my opinion as a layperson. Authors are obviously allowed to set books wherever they want to, real or fictional, but I think there's a certain accountability that needs to be taken when writing about a real place, particularly when that real place is a town of less than 15 square miles and with a population of under 8,000. I find myself getting annoyed when authors get things wrong about places I've lived, including big cities like Philadelphia, Miami, Orlando. So a really small town like Hamilton, I imagine it would be hard not to take any criticisms to heart, even if it's a fictionalized version of the town. Let it be said, however, there's certainly no excuse to come disrupt an event, and I absolutely agree that these women should have been removed from the premises. But apparently that wasn't enough for Hannah. She took to her Instagram stories to publicly name and shame, and these screenshots have the names redacted, but of course that was not done by Hannah. So this is from her story. It's a screenshot of a Goodreads review that gave it 1 star. I'm sorry. This is a screenshot from an Amazon review that gave it 1 star. Waste of time and money. Such a pathetic grab for attention. I'm so disappointed by this story, which is completely unrealistic fiction set in a real town. The author vacillates between saying in People magazine that this is based on real things that happened to her in her hometown of Boxford, Massachusetts, to claiming that it's all made up, and then pivoting again to compare her horribly written novel to Andres Dubuque's III nonfiction book, Townie. There was such potential in this story that completely fell flat with unlikable characters, boring content, and clear use of AI. Don't waste your time or money. There are much better options out there. And then Hannah added onto this screenshot the person's name caught in the act of review bombing. No, I did not use AI. No, Boxford isn't my hometown. And no, I never compared my book to Townie. Also, who is Andres Dubuque? LOL. So let's start here with the claims made by this reviewer. Back in May, the following article was published by People magazine. The title, I battled the parent-teacher organization in my wealthy suburbs and the drama became my new book, exclusive. This book is based on a true story. No, really. In 2022, after having lived in New York for 17 years, I moved back to Massachusetts, my beloved Bay State. We considered Newburyport at first, but almost immediately reconsidered. I love my hometown, but I also wanted a little distance. Plus, the real estate market had gone haywire during COVID, and some of the surrounding towns were a little, truly only a little, more affordable. We settled on Boxford, where lots are a mandatory 2 acres and where the median income, as of 2023 at least, is just under $240,000. When I was growing up, I only knew mostly rural Boxford for 2 reasons. One was because my Hebrew school crush, Charlie, lived there and he had an indoor pool, which was a distinct marker of wealth in the early 1990s. And another was because Masconomet, I'm sorry to all my New Englanders, the regional middle and high school in which Boxford falls competed against Newburyport in athletics. I wouldn't call my attempts at shot put and discus school athlete exactly. And they were mostly better than we were, except for in football, but I digress. Skipping forward just a little bit, practically the first thing I did when we came here, when my eldest son was in kindergarten, was get into a knockdown, drag-out fight with the parent-teacher organization after realizing that there was a pay-to-play system in place, which allowed parents to pay a premium to get first dibs for tickets to events like dances and auditorium seats at coveted performances. This put me at odds with the PTO, yes, and with many of my fellow parents who defended the PTO and its actions in a truly nightmarish fervor. I was stalked on social media, tweeted at, and sent emails that mothers wouldn't want to read aloud to their kindergarten-aged children. In my new book, Valley of the Moms, I wanted to explore an exaggeration of this theme. What would happen in a world where people would truly do anything to protect what they had worked for? In real life, we had already seen an indication of how far people would go to protect what they valued. And then she goes on to talk about the Operation Varsity Blues scandal and whatnot. All that to say is that Hannah shouldn't be surprised by people thinking her book is based on a true story when she openly admits in a national publication that her book is based on a true story. Going back to this review, I can't and I won't comment on alleged AI usage, although I will say it feels like it's starting to become one of those things that people just accuse someone of when they don't like them. Hannah mentions that Boxford isn't her hometown, which, sure, if we're splitting hairs here, is true, but that's the town she lives in now, so come on. She said it in People magazine. And it is true she did not compare her book to Townie. The book she is referring to in her reel is called Such Kindness, and honestly, I feel like both of them bringing it up is kind of pointless. It's like, okay, so no one showed up to his readings and commented on it, cool. It's just not really relevant. So Hannah then tags the high school that this reviewer is involved with, I guess, and she says, blank, are you aware that booster parent, this person, is spreading lies about a local author and parent and targeting her with review bombing? Can you imagine being like the student managing the social media account for their work study credit and then just like getting thrown into this mommy drama? This is such an extreme reaction about someone not liking her book. It is next level. Okay, so she continues. She posts this person's, it's just a screenshot of their profile page, and I'm assuming what's underneath here, because I am not the one that actually redacted these names and everything, someone else did, but it wasn't Hannah, had information about them, their picture, their username, all of that. It must be a total coincidence that the same people who are giving my book 1-star ratings on Goodreads also happen to be from Hamilton, and also happen to be creeping on my Instagram stories. One of many. And yeah, this is just straight up showing this person's account. She then goes on and says, a partial list of other Hamilton people who have review bombed me. And while it's covered up, you can see that there's at least 5 names here. And underneath it, it says, I look forward to sending your bosses an email. The next one, she's got a name. Special education teacher in blank city. Another name, a nurse. Another name, a community organizer in Hamilton. These women hold jobs that are supposed to care for people. Imagine one of these women being your caretaker, your teacher, your organizer. There are honestly no words for me to express how absolutely batshit this is. And honestly, I would love to be a fly on the wall when one of their bosses opens these emails, because I can't even fathom getting an email from a random author trying to somehow get like one of my employees in trouble for poorly rating a book. What does she think is going to happen? Here's another one where she wrote another partial list of Hamilton women who have review bombed me on Amazon and Goodreads. And again, this is a different list than the one I just read. She then went on to dox the son of one of the women who reviewed the book. So this son replied to her story and said, "Sounds like your book just isn't very good, lady." And Hannah said, "Actually, it is. Tell your wife I say hi." And then she added to that screenshot, "This is that person's name. His mom is one of the people writing 1-star reviews." She didn't stop there, though. She then posted a picture of him and said, 22-year-old, his name, definitely a catch. And then in this next one, so she posts a screenshot of someone who texted her, said, "I just saw someone in Maui reading your book at the pool. She's from Michigan." Hannah said, "Amazing." And this person then said, "I bragged and said I knew the author. Haha. I told her about the crazy Hamilton moms. LOL. She said it's perfect summer reading." And attached to that screenshot, Hannah has written, "Suck a fatty," and then that person's name, that son of this person. And yes, this is an adult child, but it's still out of line, no matter who it is. And so I was a little late to this story. I didn't see these posted in real time, and Hannah did end up deleting them. But from what I've heard, allegedly, it seems like she deleted them more due to the backlash than because of any sense of remorse. And some of the women she doxed posted about it on Facebook, and they truly seem to have no clue why they were targeted. So this first one says, "Update. Since this post, I've received messages from dozens of others who this author has doxed the same way. She has now insinuated that the women on this post with me are the people who showed up to her book review. This is false." She writes, "Those of you who know me know I read a ton for a busy mom. By read, I mean listen. In the car, at the grocery store, in the car before a game. I made the mistake of reading Valley of the Moms by Hannah Selinger recently. It was written to have taken place in Hamilton, so I figured it'd be fun. It was a pretty blah book, and I didn't enjoy it. From the writing to the exaggerated portrayal of where I live, I gave it 1 star on Goodreads, and per my other 190 plus reviews, made no comment. The author is now taking to socials to say I and any female who gave her a bad review that she can tie to Hamilton are trying to sabotage her, has called us today stalkers of hers, and has even insinuated I was part of an alleged disruption of her book signing. I don't give a fuck about this book or its author. She is completely unhinged and trying to circulate drama that isn't there to help promote this book. Please don't support this woman. There are so many wonderful local authors on the North Shore." I don't think she's like trying to do this to promote her book. I think this is just who she is, but we'll get into that later. This is another person, and their update said this author has stated that she doxed us because we stalked her and caused a disruption at the event last week. This is not true. None of us were at her event. I updated the pics to protect the privacy of others and made this public because she did attach some of those screenshots. Anyways, her initial post had said, "Recently, a fiction story, Valley of the Moms by certified wacko Hannah Selinger, was published, which takes place in my town of Hamilton. I listened to this book on audio mostly because it takes place locally. I didn't enjoy the absurd plot, the unlikable characters, the slow pace, or the predictable ending. It also paints Hamilton, a very real town, in a poor light. I left a negative review on Audible because the book is terrible. The fallout has been wild. The author has doxed me, my son, and several others, including a minor child. I don't have any hard proof of that, so I'm not saying it. Who also did not enjoy the book on her social media pages. She has threatened to call my employer because we didn't like her silly book. She is calling on her small following to make us famous because we don't like her book. This is not normal behavior. Don't read this crappy book and support this awful unhinged woman. Please see the last image for my personal favorite." And then some crying and laughter emojis. The last image she posted was the one that said, "Suck it," or "Suck a fatty," or whatever it was. So, just imagine writing a review about a book you didn't like, whatever, and then suddenly find yourself accused of disrupting an event and your name is blasted all over the place. So, as if this isn't crazy enough, some rumblings of her past started to come to light. So this person, Vintage Max Books and Gifts, said, "So, hypothetically speaking, and for no reason in particular, did you know, sometimes authors displaying bad behavior online might have a history of really bad behavior prior to being trad published, as in like searchable court records, such as being charged with stalking and harassment under their real name, or what might be considered a pattern of vexatious litigation against people who just don't like them. That would be a wild pattern of unhinged and indefensible behavior. And that would be ultra super weird, and again, so hypothetical, if this author was also a trust fund baby who has no need to sue people for $100K for alleged libel for checks notes harassing people online. Weird. It would be stranger than fiction about weirdly aggressive mom behavior in a wealthy community if the author was actually a strangely aggressive person with wealth in real life. But a respectable publisher would totally do their homework and get that vetting done. Totally. Nothing to worry about. As I said, hypothetical. So, that's quite a lot of claims being made, and I am not confirming or denying them as a whole. But a simple Google search will pull up New York court records, where we can see that Hannah Selinger has been charged with harassment and stalking of her half sister back in 2015. Now, I am throwing out all of my favorite disclaimers here. I am not a lawyer. Everything I'm about to say is based on my researched but not formerly educated understanding of the law. I do my very best to get things correct before I say them, but there is certainly always a chance I did not interpret something correctly, so please keep that in mind going forward. And I will, of course, put a link to exactly where I got this in the description if you would like to read the whole thing. So here we go. Defendant charged with stalking in the 4th degree, penal law, whatever, I'm not reading it, and harassment in the 2nd degree, moves to dismiss the stalking count as facially insufficient. She moves in the alternative for dismissal of the entire information in furtherance of justice under the statute and People versus Clayton, whatever. For the reasons that follow, the motion to dismiss the stalking count is granted with leave to supersede while the Clayton motion is denied. So, stalking charge was dismissed, but with leave to supersede, which means that the prosecution can bring an amended charge in the future. On its surface, the case did not meet the basic legal requirements for what she did to be considered stalking. The Clayton motion that was denied refers to Hannah trying to get all of this dismissed in the furtherance of justice. So, knowing that the stalking was dismissed, so I'm not trying to sway you one way or another, it was in fact dismissed, let's take a look at the complainant's allegations. Factual background. A, the allegations. According to the information, between October of 2014 and February of 2015, the defendant repeatedly harassed the complainant, her half-sister, over the internet. Defendant first posted a photograph on Instagram that contained the complainant's telephone number and text, suggesting that the complainant was seeking sexual partners. The complainant received telephone solicitations for sex as a result of the posting. Next, defendant, using the website theknot.com, RSVP'd to the complainant's wedding in her own name, as well as that of her dog and her deceased father, even though defendant was not invited to the wedding. Finally, one day later, the complainant received an email notification that, using an alias, the defendant had named a cockroach after the complainant through a wildlife conservation website. Legal proceedings. Defendant was arraigned on April 17, 2015, on an information charging with her violating penal law, these things. The court released the defendant and set a motion schedule. Defendant filed the instant motion on June 4, 2015, and the people responded on June 15th, and the matter has been sub judice since then, meaning it's been under judgment since then. The information sworn to by the complainant provides that on or about October 10th, 2014, at approximately 2:00 p.m. in New York County and elsewhere, I observed a photograph of a telephone number and a caption stating, "Found on the street. Number, call me. Any takers? For a good time." Posted on Instagram by username Hannah Lee Selinger, which is a username I know to be associated with the defendant. The telephone number in the above described photograph belongs to me, and I received approximately 15 telephone calls between October 10th, 2014 and October 17th, 2014 from telephone numbers I did not recognize and individuals' names and voices I was not familiar with. Callers for several of these telephone calls solicited me for sex. On or about February 11th, 2015 at approximately 5:30 p.m., while I had been in New York County, I received 3 online RSVP email notifications via my theknot.com account, which is an account I have used to facilitate wedding invitations. As of February 11th, 2015, I had not sent any invitations to any guests. On that date, at approximately 5:30 p.m., I received the above described online RSVP email notifications from the following 3 names. 1. Hannah Selinger, 2. Pickle Selinger, and 3. Neil Selinger. I know the name Pickle Selinger to be associated with the defendant's dog, and I know the name Neil Selinger to belong to the defendant's deceased father. On or about February 12, 2015, at approximately 3:19 p.m., while I had been in New York County, I received an email from the Wildlife Conservation Society that stated that Anna Kramer, at the email address genevieve29@yahoo.com, named a cockroach the complainant's name. The email contained a message, "A hiss just for you." The email further contained a message from Anna Kramer at the above described email address that stated, "I've named this roach after you. Happy V-Day, your secret admirer. I know the above described email address to be associated with the defendant. Due to the defendant's above described conduct, I am annoyed, alarmed, and fear for my safety and the safety of my family members. I do not want to be contacted by the defendant." And while I'm not going to read the entire ruling, this is the gist of it. A person is guilty of stalking in the fourth degree when she intentionally and for no legitimate purpose engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person and knows or reasonably should know that such conduct is likely to cause reasonable fear of material harm to the physical health, safety, or property of such person, a member of such person's immediate family, or a third party with whom such person is acquainted. The statute requires that the defendant have either actual or constructive knowledge that her behavior will cause the victim to fear material harm to one of those specified interests. In this case, defendant's internet pranks, while clearly calculated to annoy her sister and cause her mental distress, do not reflect the knowledge required by this section. Obnoxious but non-threatening behavior is not by itself enough, and then states the case law. All of this is just to demonstrate the history this woman has of going after people online. I have no idea what her relationship with her sister is like, but this is not normal behavior at all. And as I mentioned, she did delete the stories, but she still kept defending her actions, and thank you to my lovely friend Kat for documenting this entire exchange between the two of them. Is this not you stating you are contacting their places of work? Your own post stated that 3 women showed up to the event. I don't even know how many you have tagged in these fucking posts. Over 10? Authors piss people off and get review bombed all the fucking time. Your job as an author is to stay the fuck out of reviewer spaces and pretend like those don't exist. You said you filed a police report. Continue to collect information if the harassment continues. She also attached all of those same stories I already read. Then when you are able, go file a restraining order if the women are indeed harassing you. But in your own post, you stated that they hurled a few insults and were immediately kicked out, and you turned out to have a very successful event and sold a lot of books. Under no circumstances are you ever allowed to dox the people that review you and call for people to attack them. You indeed posted somebody's adult kid claiming his mom was a harasser and posting his Insta user info. And Hannah said they posted their legal names. The adult kid sent me threatening messages. And Kat said, post the threatening messages then, with his username redacted. But all I saw and all you showed was that he told you your book probably wasn't that good. Your response was to blast him publicly with your platform of 15,000 people. They are allowed to post their legal names. That's their own person. They're allowed to talk about that online. You, however, are fucking not. You don't ever post the first and last name of a fucking reviewer. Reviewer spaces are not for you. Get the fuck out of them. And Hannah said, it's ironic to me that this whole thread is a doxing thread that no one takes issue with. And she said, I'm gonna need you to explain that like I'm fucking 5, because the screenshots that I posted already had names redacted. And then I'm gonna need you to get the fuck offline because you don't know what you're talking about and you're spiraling right now and it is going to crash your fucking career. So if you have any sense of self-preservation, put the fucking phone down and walk away from it. And Hannah said, my career is fine. I'm not spiraling. I've removed the post, so I'm not really sure what the point of this is. And Kat said, it's telling you where the fucking line is. You crossed it. In fact, you sprinted past it. And the book community doesn't stand for this kind of bullshit. Review spaces are for reviewers. Authors are to keep the fuck out of them. That's a firm goddamn line in the sand. It doesn't matter if there are 1,000 one-star review. You're not going to address it. You don't get to dictate how people react to your book once you put it out there. And at this point, she really just needed to stop engaging. But of course that isn't what happened. Although again, I was actually asleep when all of this was happening. So the exact timeline of specific messages is unclear to me. Nevertheless, none of this is good. So Hannah then quote posted someone discussing her situation with evidence, and then Hannah is still refuting it. So she, had this whole post. This person has misrepresented me. I'm not doxing reviewers I don't agree with. These are women who have stalked me and shown up to crash my events. I mean, we saw the list of names she posted. We also heard her clearly state in that video and can clearly read in this post that there were 3 women who showed up at her signing, and this was what she had posted about it on Threads last night during an otherwise uneventful speaking engagement at the bookshop of Beverly Farms. A group of 3 women who had been standing at the back of the room began shouting out insults, unanswerable questions, and unhinged commentary about my work. 3. She very clearly mentions the number 3. There are at least 6 people mentioned in those screenshots, at least. So she's clearly not only focusing on these women that showed up. Like, she literally posted a picture of one of these women's son. So yeah, this is not misrepresentation. So Kat said, where's your proof that they've stalked you and crashed your events? Because your post on Instagram is you pissed off that they're review bombing you and sending your readers to go deal with them on Goodreads. Or is this not you giving them permission to go attack reviewers? And Hannah said, there are numerous people who were at an event last week that was crashed, including author Jane Ward and Namrata Patel author. Maybe ask them. And in this screenshot that Kat had attached, you can see her saying things like, someone saying, heads to Goodreads, and Hannah says, with my blessing. Can I borrow them for Parisian Heist, which is this other author's book? Oh, I'd love it if you did. I mean, and Kat said, if you're coming on here and tagging people's places of work, posting people's children in your stories, you should tell the whole story when you were posting about something. Your comments specifically were inviting people to go handle your Goodreads reviews, and I've checked them. They're not review bombing you, they're giving you honest reviews. As a traditionally published author, you should probably do this the legal way and file a restraining order. And Hannah said, I did not post people's kids. I'm being bombed. Ratings, not reviews. You can check for yourself. A restraining order in my state requires a court appearance, and I've been solo parenting the past several days. So speaking on that for just a moment, her book has a 3.1 overall rating, and sometimes that can mean there's both a lot of 5-star and 1-star reviews, which to me would be an indicator of rating manipulation or bombing. But 43% of all ratings on her book are 3 stars, which is perfectly average. And I don't think she can really even claim here that this is review bombing or rating bombing. She literally perhaps just wrote a mediocre book. And so Kat says, then why did you send people to Goodreads? Did you file a police report? You can do that over the phone and have a non-emergency officer meet you at your front step to take down that information. Then you have the record of the behavior for when you have the ability for an RO. Crashing your event is shit behavior. You using your platform to name people and post their places of work is also shit behavior. You think you're the first author to be review bombed or had someone crash an event? And then Hannah said, I didn't send people to Goodreads. They went on their own. That comment was a joke. And yes, I filed a police report. You can't just say that comment was a joke when you told them to go and they did it. That does this. And then Kat said, why was this Instagram post necessary at all? If it's being handled by the police, they would tell you to let them handle it, not go online and name all of them and tag somebody's place of work, therefore inciting more of a reaction from these women. You should get a publicist soon. And in her whole, I didn't send them to Goodreads comment, this is something she posted on Threads, sharing her story doxing people, and then writing, proud Hamilton trolls, y'all, make them famous. It's pretty clear what she's doing here. I don't know how she wants us to believe that she was joking when she said that. So, Hannah then said, I have a publicist, too, but thank you. The police cannot do anything besides document this. They did not instruct me one way or the other. My point in sharing this is that OP has misrepresented me. Kat said, I asked you what the point of your Instagram post was. If the police were handling it, why did you take it upon yourself to tag 10 different women, tag somebody's place of work in an attempt to get them fired, I'm sure, and point people to Goodreads and Amazon? Fire your publicists. Absolutely unhinged behavior to tag 10 women about reviews. You handed the 3 over to the police, according to you. That should have been the end of it until you can get a restraining order. Someone else chimes in here and says, from the depths of my soul, I truly believe this is not the way to handle it. I really encourage you to delete the slides on your story where you share identifying information. From what I can gather, you believe these are the women who showed up to your author event and heckled you? That's frustrating, but this is a really bad look regardless. They're allowed to hate your book, rightly or wrongly, and this is doxing. And Hannah said, I already did. The only place with the shots in this is this thread because OP will not remove them. And Kat said, why should they? So you can pretend that this didn't happen? The book community doesn't forget, babe. Those of us who have been here for a long time also have an extensive library of screenshots of people who become problematic within the community. Your actions have been documented. And Hannah said, great, I look forward to you continuing to harass me in the future. And Kat said, this isn't harassment, babe. This is you getting called out for your shit-ass behavior. This is called a consequence. I'm gonna need you to learn the fucking difference. We don't have to stoop to harassing people. We just let everyone in our circle know who to not read and who to avoid because of the problematic behavior. So, as someone who has been threatened with legal action in the past for things that I've said, and not just by Christina K., I know very well that it isn't harassment for someone to repeat your own words that you said loud and proud, nor is it libel, nor is it slander. Everyone who reposted her own Instagram stories did nothing more than amplify what she herself was open about. And maybe if she'd seen the error of her ways and apologized, people would be more willing to hear her out and like take down their posts. But her removing them, making her accounts private, reads as nothing but damage control when it's accompanied by what she continued to say. Her publisher, Little Brown & Co., was tagged many times. Multiple people said they would be sending in emails about her behavior. I have no idea how seriously a publisher would take something like this, but it isn't good look for her either way, and actually has the potential to get her, into some legal trouble. So rounding this out with one last post, Tammy Reads a Lot said she started following me after I called her out on one of her publisher's posts. I blocked her everywhere immediately when I saw it because this woman is clearly unhinged. And then she puts the screenshot where you can see that she followed from the post that this person had posted. Too bad the author is a POS who doxes people who didn't like the book. And, that's jarring. I mean, that there's a possibility she might see it, but you're not expecting this person to follow you after you've said something like that. Personally, I don't know. This would make me very uneasy, but, that's why the block button exists. And Hannah should probably do a lot more blocking herself and a lot less replying to people who don't like her. Actually, I lied. I have one more post that I just thought was funny. Tally Rose said, I've thought about it, and if a publisher plucked me out of obscurity and primed me to be a bestseller, I would simply not dox my reviewers. And I just thought that was funny. Someone said, the bar really is in the basement at this point. Don't hunt down people who gave your book 3 stars. Should not be a revolutionary standard, but here we are. For the sake of accuracy, she wasn't exactly plucked from obscurity, as she previously did publish a nonfiction book that was quite successful, but the sentiment remains. It's just not that hard to avoid doing everything that she did, and something to think about is that she's traditionally published. So if she ends up facing consequences from her publisher, that doesn't just affect her. She has an editor. She has 2 publicists, as we heard. She's got an agent. Other people have a stake in her book being successful. And so while I am all for people getting what they deserve, I hope this whole episode doesn't end up harming those other folks' careers. Now today, I'm spotlighting male romance author Jole Cannon, a math and programming high school teacher in Northern California. He lives with his husband Ken and their 2 cats, Pepper and Cuckoos, which are adorable names for cats. Larger Than Life is a slow burn, best friends to lovers with a coming out. Both main characters are in their 30s, big guys, and sweet and caring men. Bernard feels like an outsider in the gay community. 35, chubby and hairy, he doesn't fit the image of a stereotypical gay man. Failed relationships in the past solidified the idea that he is destined to be alone. Rory is struggling with his identity. At 35, he is still single. When he reunites with his childhood friend, his religious convictions and the desire to be with a man clash, as he must choose between what the church taught him is right and what his heart desires. The 2 men are forced to face their fears and make a choice, live alone and accept their fate, or take a leap and challenge what they believe. Husky and Heartfelt is a second chance romance, and with all of Joel's books, both main characters are big boys. Loneliness has taken its toll on Sean's life. He once loved Hugo, but let him go after college. After 12 years, he misses what they had, but dating a man could end his career as a high school gym teacher and varsity football coach. Staying in the closet has become a shield for him, one that is cracking. Openly gay music teacher Hugo puts on a happy persona to his students and colleagues. He's tried dating, but they always want what he isn't, a masculine, well-toned man. Outside, everyone he knows says he'll find the right guy, and he needs to be patient with himself. Inside, there is a hole in his heart that no one can fill except for Sean. When Sean finally talks to Hugo after avoiding him for years out of fear of being outed, a friendship sparks. Can this spark be enough to reignite the passion they had in college before Sean broke Hugo's heart, or will it dwindle into nothing? Down in the description will be a link to purchase Joel's books along with his social media links. Indie authors are a vital part of the bookish community, so try to support them wherever you can, even if that's just a follow on social media. And if you'd like the chance to be featured indie author, there is a form down in the description. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. Check out my Discord if you would like to hang out over there. We have lots of fun, lots of good chats. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!